Here we go. Happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday. For real. For real. It was one of
Yeah,
those weeks.
you had a busy week.
I did. Our virtual events are both kind of, a blessing and a curse for me specifically because I'm able to see a lot more when it's virtual because I'm not running around and being intercepted by people and having meetings and the drill when you're live at one of our events. You're always doing something. Whereas our virtual events, I can actually listen and learn. So I think that's why, it was great. And then also it's just so many hours a day, just learning. So
Yeah, well, that's a segue. So why don't we start? And for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, we IIEX.AI this week, and I was only following along via LinkedIn, all those posts. Unfortunately, 'cause I was doing other stuff, but you were in the thick of it, and I know you
I
got
was
some
in
takeaways.
the thick of it. And, first of all, shout out to Conveo because not only were they our title sponsor for IIEX.AI, but they are sponsoring this episode as well.
Yep.
So thank you again for them for your sponsorship for both this show and for the last 2 days of great content around AI. So here's some takeaways because I was able to look at the data that Kara shared quickly overnight. I don't know if you saw that, Lenny, but quickly overnight,
Yeah.
like, which sessions were the most attended, and shout out again to Conveo, highest attendance of all of the sessions, which I just think, first of all, it's a sweet spot. The title sponsor always gets that sweet spot, early in the day on day one. But also what they were talking about, was really important. So their session was called Beyond Scale, Authentic Human Understanding with AI. And I think there's a lot of things, even in that title, that it's like, okay, authentic human understanding and AI, overarching theme. When you're pairing kind of human insight or human intellect with the artificial intelligence, those two things are the sweet spot where our industry is right now. The partnership, the collaboration, AI plus human, that seems to be what everybody was tuning into. So, Conveo nailed it right off the bat.
Can I interject something real quick too?
Yeah, of course.
Let's put this in perspective. This is a 3-year-old company.
Yeah, it's a good point to call out. Yeah,
that, and there's others as well, right? In that space, that all of them are just a few years old.
Yeah,
going from 0 to 100. Yeah. I mean, just from a growth and impact standpoint, let's recognize that. It's pretty cool to see companies, and especially people that we know, like Neil's, right? They've been forever. Just seeing that rapid transformation, it's emblematic of the transformation, and we see that in a very specific commercial way. They have money to spend.
Yeah, they do.
Conveo
certainly, I just saw Conveo sponsoring another industry event, a smaller one, and I was like, all right, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
I mean, that's part of success. Companies who are not succeeding don't get the investment to spend the money to help accelerate their growth.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, these are flash in the pans, new stuff. No, these companies are hitting scale.
Yeah. And shout out to Knit. So also Knit, another solidly attended session, another plenary sponsor for us. And they were talking about black boxes, fraud farms, and the last mile. And that, from a title standpoint, but again, like hitting on a hot topic right now, like, okay, so like, yes, we're talking about all this. We have to be talking about the other side, right? The risk, kind of the fear, the trepidation around fraud and about data quality and all that. So, hats off to Anish and his team too. So, really, really solid. I've got to shout out the some of the brands that spoke. Oh gosh, and I didn't even get to Tom with Jack in the Box. That was a fantastic session. I was listening to that thinking this right here is, why he's a pro. But we also had Lance Hill from HP talking about work is not working, and Milind from Mercedes-Benz talking about the symbiotic workplace. And even Melina Palmer joined us on day 2 talking about why change fails in the workplace. So I think that was another theme. These were very well attended sessions, and they were talking about kind of what all of this disruption and rapid change around AI means for work. And, really that is of interest to people. Anyway, just needs to kind of shout out all that as well.
How often was agent said? Was that the new, if that was the new drinking game when everybody been wasted in the first?
It wasn't
No?
because I mean, there were certain sessions about agentic AI on day 2 in particular. But that wasn't necessarily the conversation. And I can get to my takeaway on that. If I fast forward to something that we talked about at the town hall, also sponsored by the Harris Poll, I was able to facilitate a town hall discussion. And the Harris Poll, through their Quest DIY programming, had shared this study that 98% of insights professionals are using generative AI or have used it in the last year. So great onboarding for people within the insights community in their sample of insights professionals. But what they're using it for is like these very specific use cases. It's really the assistant. It is the person who is, helping us create briefs. It's helping us write draft proposals, communications. It's helping with data analysis, and on the analytics end. So it is this great efficiency booster. And I think that the current use cases haven't really gotten too far into agentic AI. We talked about it. That's going to be coming up soon, but that is not omnipresent right now. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that's probably, if we looked at it from a broad category, that's still the new wave, right?
Yeah.
Being rolled out. It's not fully baked yet, but it's from the client perspective, the process efficiencies. And when I think of agentic, I think that it's the next wave, the accelerator of process efficiency.
Yeah. And what was interesting, again, going back to this town hall, we had somebody from Meta join us and somebody from Robinhood join us. So representing the brand side specifically. And they were talking about just internally how much work has to be done to upskill their teams so that they can be using these. But a question was posed at the very end by one of our audience members, virtual, of course, but somebody had posed the question about, like, are decisions being made based on AI right now? And it was kind of this, like, is that what's happening? And they pretty much were like, yeah, not really, not without massive amounts of validation. And, the researcher is still highly gatekeeping the decision-making on some level. It's not quite there yet, but they, of course, foresee a time when that may be happening, so it's a really interesting time with lots of use. We've adopted the technology, and yet we're still kind of keeping it gated, and the humans are very much in control. It's pretty sweet.
That's an interesting, I think that's an interesting nuance, right? And thinking about my own use of AI, I expect yours as well. All the process efficiency. Right before this, I was merging 2 studies. The utilizing my favorite Perplexity, shout out, and asked it for implications and do all that good stuff, but that had nothing to do with what the ultimate output of it would be. It was still just a process efficiency to do that. There would be no action taken without the human review. So it's cool to hear that's where we are actually. Because I mean, some things, if you're doing I'll pick on an ad test, right? And it's like an A/B test type of thing. And the AI is doing that, and it's an obvious score. This wins, etc., and it executes the ad, and the ad goes out there fully agentic. Those type of low risk, things. I think that makes perfect sense. That for the human doesn't necessarily need to be involved in that. The more strategic, the more impactful, the more risk there is, then I don't see that changing.
Well, what's interesting is it won't change without full leadership buy-in. So one of the conversations that we had was about, at the enterprise level, your ability to experiment with all of these AI platforms and all of these AI testing tools, et cetera, is going to be decided or determined by kind of how much your powers that be are encouraging the experimentation, allowing you to budget for experimentation. So that's really where the corporate side researchers are kind of standing, is they can only try your new AI based platform if they have permission to experiment and budget to do so, because they are still required to meet their business objectives, so they're using what they can as they can. So a culture of experimentation is going to help them help the industry advance even further.
Right. But again, if we look at, which was use Conveo as it's just an example.
Yeah.
That experimentation is obviously happening.
Yeah.
This whole event would be an example. So we may still be in the experimentation phase of the adoption cycle, but I don't think anybody needs to take that but it's still marginal. That there's no there's no data that indicates that. So we're all
I think
in.
that for us, data is indicating this was our most popular AI event, which is interesting to me because we more registrants.
We didn't think we could pull it off 3 years later. We're like, we're going to burn it out.
We didn't know because we're talking about AI at other in-person events. We didn't know that the hyper focus on AI would still be of interest, because a lot of people tell us a little too much AI at some of the other industry events. So would we be able to engage people for 2 days of AI content? And sure enough, the people that showed up, now here's what I think is telling. The people that showed up for this, and there were people that were, tuned in all day for the last 2 days. There's people that are looking at it on demand. I've already seen people like catching up today, that kind of thing. But they are really looking at the range of, okay, here's how a brand side researcher is using it. Okay, here's a new tool I've not heard of before. Oh, great. Here's a prompt workshop from Monica at Mondelez. That was a very powerful prompting workshop because she's showing how she's using it internally at Mondelez. Of course, using their own internal GPT or LLM, but still, it was the people that showed up this year were like, okay, these people they're broad-minded. They're really the IIEX audience, right? They're growth-minded. They want to know what's coming. They want to know what's here, and they want to know what's coming next. So really in tune with our audience. So it was exciting. And, I think the bottom line is leaders have to lead the change and lead their teams through the change and the disruption. And then we all have to recognize that right now and for the foreseeable future, it's that combination of AI and human that are making magic together.
Yeah. And for our listeners, here's a little glimpse into how the sausage is made. We practice what we preach, right? We are a media company in the Insights organization. Karen and I are researchers, and we use all of these things as data points. So, and we're building those better capabilities internally as well. So events aren't focus groups, but by your fresh imagination, but yet it is massive amounts of information that come through our events that we try and funnel through and alchemize and share with you guys, because the level of insight there, plus other data sets, the news, et cetera, et cetera. That's the whole point of this show. So if if you're like, quit talking about this event, I understand we're synthesizing in real time key insights that came out of it to share with the industry, because it is another angle of information that we're cross-checking and validating, against other things so we can give you our best sense on where things are. Right.
And if you are a supplier in the industry, you really, if you're listening between the lines, also, when I say something like, human plus AI or creative thinking or critical thinking plus artificial intelligence, like, listen to what I'm saying about what's popping, because that will help inform your content marketing down the road. 100%. Right. So,
and your business strategy. This week, we didn't put it as a link, so there was no reason to. But if you go on LinkedIn, Qualtrics is still talking about their deal with Press, with Press Getting Forsta, and it very explicitly, again, calling out this was data plus service, right? Yeah. And they recognize that. So you look at this, a big ass $6 billion deal from a tech company. Yeah. Obviously, there's the technology and the data and whatever they do with the data, AI, right? But still that service component. And I think that's it. We all should take some comfort in that in our industry, which is fundamentally a service industry transforming into a technology industry. Yeah. That it is that synthesis that drives value.
Yeah. Can I just say one other thing for those of you who are listening, who are always curious about like our calls for speakers? I do a lot of like checking calls for speaker submissions that I've accepted or that my team has accepted compared to, you know, like kind of what else is out there. And I really look at the two and I think about that each time, especially before, for instance, Europe is still out there. I'm about to make those decisions for Europe. We just made them for North America. And when I tell you things like the Will Leach and Seth Mintz from Perigo, you know, collaboration talking about how Perigo is using behavioral AI personas to help with their research, and then Humanate with L'Oreal for this particular event, talking about how you know, what some of their measurable outcomes are for the very cool new technology that Humanate is providing. Like when I see that kind of collaboration, it will always win over something that's like, hey, look how great my platform is. Nope.
Right.
Like I know your platforms are all great and they're all your babies, especially if you're new. And like they're all, you know, your babies are all really cute and really great. And your AI features are great and table stakes for the record. But when you show that authentic collaboration, that's what our audience wants. That's what drives attendance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, case studies, because we're all looking to figure out what's fit for purpose. Although I would say, but if you have something that is incredibly revolutionary and like, holy crap,
yeah,
with that consideration too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Try to share it in such a way that it's going to show how you're going to change business outcomes or influence business outcomes, though. Like,
absolutely,
just can't be a shiny new tool for a shiny new tool's sake. It has to drive decision making and outcomes. Like it has to. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes in, Lenny. We have so much to cover.
We do. There is a lot left on the cutting room floor this week. But I think all that was really helpful. Great context, because everything else we're going to talk about really just see, here's other data points that validate the themes that we just discussed.
All right. Share about the data quality co-op, because I know you track that much more than I do. But they've expanded their capabilities. What do you know?
Yeah, they just keep, you know, Data Quality Co-op is one of those platforms that they're, you know, trying to be kind of a clearinghouse for data quality across different, both buyers and suppliers. And they're just expanding their capabilities to drive value and understanding where things are from a data quality standpoint. I mean, their real thing really is around transparency, supply chain transparency. So it's almost a third party clearinghouse. I already said that, but I can't think of a better word. To do that. So great attempt. I did a CEO series this week with Rep Data. That'll be out soon too. Again, another approach. You know, multiple companies trying to tackle this issue of give us your data so we can identify the trends and stay on top of, you know, new emerging challenges. And Data Quality Co-op's doing that. Other people are doing it. Hats off on them attempting to get a handle on this.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yep. Discuss.
Yes.
So this was interesting. Go ahead.
This is interesting. All right. So before I get to the story, though, let me just say we did have conversation again at the Harris Poll Town Hall at the end of the event yesterday. We were talking about AI-powered qual. And there is a difference for everybody listening between like AI moderation and AI analysis of qualitative open ends.
Yep.
So like just kind of keeping all of that in mind. But AI qualitative research is popping right now. So it was a great coincidence that we saw this particular story. So Discuss was recognized by OpenAI for surpassing 10 billion processed tokens. Now, that's like sort of like, what does that even mean? But the reality is OpenAI is recognizing providers that are, or companies that are getting either, I think at their event, it was 10 billion, 100 billion, and 1 trillion token milestones. So they've surpassed 10 billion token milestones. That all has to do with usage, right, within the OpenAI ecosystem. I think it's a big deal. They're the only market research provider recognized on this particular wave with OpenAI. What's your take?
So I don't want to take anything away from that, from Discuss.io. I had never thought of it. Like token utilization is a PR thing. What? And I get it. I totally get it.
Yep.
I did check with other AI first companies, and they were like, we do that in like a month. So there's something, it's interesting. There's the PR component of that, which is valid and appropriate, and hats off to Jim and the whole team at Discuss for doing this. I'm not.
I mean, they're talking about the engineers within their ecosystem, which I'm like, all right, shout out. This
yes,
is the time
absolutely.
for engineers and developers.
Absolutely, it's not taking anything away from that. But I'm not sure that is the accomplishment that we've like, because there are companies that like AI first that are like, we would have never even thought about highlighting that because we do that in a week or whatever, and it just goes, it's a different metric. It's a different metric to success, to understand where the company is on the AI transformation path.
Yeah.
So that's important. Adoption, Discuss is a good sized company, been around for a long time, transforming, so obviously they're all in and they're getting client success and utilizing that. All those things play into it. But it's almost like reporting how much power you use, right? Kind of thing. I mean, it's
I think what they're saying
weird.
Here's what they're saying, though. If you look at the press release, they're talking about 1,000 users a day.
Yeah.
And I think there is a correlation there that is very interesting to think about. I certainly was like, 1,000 users a day is that seems like a lot.
That is.
So I think what's going to be interesting is to see if we hear more of these, more stories about this.
Yep.
And as to your point, as far as a metric goes, it's one way of, again, gauging and sharing with the world how many people are using your tool every day, or your integration every day.
Well, that yeah. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but it's like, okay, this is like traffic, right? We look at website traffic, and so it's a new metric that I think we just got to wrap our heads around on what it indicates outside the obvious of growth and adoption.
And just shows where we're heading to. I think that's another thing, is it's kind of pointing to a world when these are all integrated and there's an infrastructure in place that allows us to track those metrics, or somebody to track all those metrics too. It's
right.
It's one of those things that makes you go, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the whole token economy, that's a whole other piece of things that I don't have a firm hand on, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, we do have a firm hand on partnerships. So let's get into some of these.
Yes.
They're not like, think about these partnerships just when you think it's safe to talk about them all. Some of them are like, this one I have to think about a little bit. Like, why is this important? Should we share this? When we look at all these and it's like, is this one, should we share this? And it's like, I think we should, because, Lenny and I are here to kind of point the way to paying attention. What are some of the signals in this crowded world? So Outset and Dovetail, you want to take that one?
Yeah. It's all about research workflows and utility. So I've got a concept I've been playing with all week. That's the idea of it's now the 3 U's. It's uniqueness, usability, and utility, and for data. Yeah. This is that Dovetail, that partnership there. It's unlocking more outside of Outset into Dovetail for unified analysis and sharing. We're just going to see more and more of these ecosystem relationships that are expanding utility of insights across the organization.
It's just so interesting because, when we talk about customer intelligence, or when we talk about knowledge hubs, and, we talk about all of these things that we've been talking about for a while. And now all of a sudden it's almost like, now it's like the ability to access all that information in a new way is really what makes it exciting. And it's just loaded with opportunities. So good luck in their partnership.
Yep. The similar one, Signal AI and Propel AI partnership to pioneer a new era of AI native communications. So again, same thing, utility. Now it's into more like utilization, right? The activation. So more things happening at scale to connect the dots and make it just easier to move from insights to activation.
Yeah. And this is, specific to media, right? So it's on some level like media intelligence, or, kind of metrics, whatever the analytics based on media performance, and then give some intelligent direction towards it, to be able to shape a narrative based on what you're learning, but do it pretty quickly, I think. So,
yeah.
Anyway, it's cool that there's it's an AI partnership with another AI partnership. That's what I think, like popped out at me there.
Yeah. These next three, I think these are the shape of things to come.
Before you tell the next one, because I'll let you talk about it, because I know. Anyway, I was looking on ChatGPT for something this weekend, and I was being dialed up some specific product recommendations. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Anyway, so let's talk about this, because what I was seeing was already this in action, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Walmart with OpenAI.
Walmart and OpenAI. Yep.
Yep. Direct product purchase through ChatGPT. And you mentioned this last week, that what I think you had said, well, we were talking about the commerce connection, right? And the ability to make purchases directly through your recommendations.
Yeah.
Obviously, Walmart, largest retailer in the world, and probably second largest online retailer. And trying to become number one.
Yeah.
This is obviously an online retail component of that, to just make that seamless. So what does that do? We're heading into the holidays.
There's a phrase in some of the stories around this that I looked at, because of course I went down the rabbit hole of Nancy, I'll tell you in a minute. There's a phrase in there called conversational commerce, and I think that's going to be something to be listening for. Is here I am having a ChatGPT conversation, overtly sharing. Nancy, what I was doing was, one of my nieces is having a baby. I'm like, shoot, I need to start on a baby blanket for her. I haven't done that yet. She's halfway through her pregnancy, and then I'm like, what I need is I need the perfect yarn, right, for the right baby blanket, because I don't know that I have time to get to the yarns. Anyway, super complicated. And it just kept serving me up like one Etsy thing after the other. And I was like, why does it keep giving me the Etsy stuff? And then all of a sudden it clicked. What was happening is I'm having conversational commerce, because Etsy was the original partnership, and now Walmart is on top of that. I wasn't getting Walmart kits. I was getting these Etsy kits. So anyway, but what that's indicative of is, it's indicative of a time when I can be chatting with ChatGPT. And I think last week it was in the there's an integration with Spotify that somebody I know is playing with. It's talking about creating a playlist in Spotify, but talk through the creation of your playlist. Don't just say what's a playlist, but talk through it, so that it's your thinking and your wisdom and your preferences being communicated to the AI that's going to take it and run with it. That's what's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we're just going to see more and more of that.
So I think we shared last week that I had set up the integration, not to take away from Walmart, because I do want to get back to that, because there's so many implications there. But I had set up the integration with ChatGPT with Zillow, because we've listed our house. And the agent is and it's basically going to let me know if new listings come up that are kind of in our sweet spot of everything that I want in a house, which every 3 times a day I get there's nothing for you to look at. Don't worry, there's nothing for you to look at. And the second it says to me, there's something for you to look at, I might then say to Tim, hey, Tim, we've got something. So I have an agent at work. Don't tell my buying agent, but there's an agent at work in ChatGPT to find the properties that pop up on the market that we may be interested if we end up selling our house. So,
something just occurred to me, but I think as we get to the next one, understand the battle here is, as it always is between consumer and enterprise.
Yeah.
Right. And OpenAI clearly is trying to become the dominant consumer platform.
Yeah.
So, and I would say right this minute they are. Now the next one. Right. Next story was Anthropic and Salesforce.
Yeah. All about enterprise. Yep.
And Anthropic is making the play for enterprise.
Yeah.
That's why they've been focusing on safety. Hear that a lot. They're taking a different approach, but they're deeply integrated with Amazon. They're with AWS, right? With Amazon Web Services, with Microsoft. Now they're engaged Salesforce. So we're seeing this world start to take shape. Of who's going for the big players, right?
Yeah.
To be the the next big platforms. And we need to pay attention to that. And particularly, I would say, I mean, there's stuff in the ether where we will see these companies making more overt moves that affect the market research industry. So let's
well, it certainly can affect the way that the market research industry does business, because the Slack integration with Salesforce also, or vice versa, that I think that also hit this week. And I was looking at that and I was thinking, well, that's interesting. As a company that has both Salesforce and Slack, I was thinking about that integration in particular. And I'm like, these enterprise level platforms can change the way business is conducted internally, or how conversations are happening, or how data gets gleaned. Like, it could all be very interesting. Interesting times.
It is. And then the Accenture acquired Deco. Which was really about their enterprise analytics service, especially with Palantir, which is particularly interesting when you think
I had to, so this was, it's funny because this was shared on Research Live. So of course I tune into it. I might have just glazed right over this thinking like, this is way out of our wheelhouse, even though Accenture every now and then dabbles into insights or whatever. I pulled up this article and I'm like, well, I personally have to look up what a Palantir platform is, because I didn't know. So for those of you listening, Palantir platforms, enterprise software integrating disparate data sources. So we've talked about that, right? We've talked about it with Sarah from Meta on our town hall yesterday, the ability of AI to connect these disparate data sources and data points and connect dots in a way that humans cannot. Like, our human minds just can't do this.
And Palantir's been doing this for like 20 years.
Right. So that's pretty cool. But I think it's this big, and we talked about kind of some of the data points that Morning Consult is putting together right now. Like, so Accenture, it's just another play where they're like, we're a data master, we are going to be able to then glean insights from your data in our consulting services.
The interesting stuff. All right. We got two more that I do think we should mention, back to our industry. Pulsar, they're insights agents, right? And I've always just liked Pulsar's approach. They started a social listening platform, and they've expanded to build modules that address different business issues and types of data. So I just like the approach, and it was very, very interesting. And now they're corporate agents. So surprise.
Well, what's cool about this, you click on this one, friends, these agents, because it goes into they're calling it teammates.
Yes, it was pretty cool. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And they've named them. They've got sentinels that are designed for alerting. They've got oracles who are, trained for prediction, custodians for compliance, analysts for research. So their team's pretty cool. I'm like, you know what? That'd be a great team to build. I know that, shout out to my husband, Tim Lynch. God bless him, but he's deep in this space, and he had created a team for his own purposes, like in his own GPT world. And he shared on LinkedIn, weeks ago, that he's like, yeah, I've got a team of agents now working for me. And, at the time thinking, okay, that's great, like, good for you. But I love the idea that they're marketing this, like, these capabilities are going to be available for your team too. So
yeah,
cool.
And they're cute.
And they're cute. It's cute. There was something cute about it. Anyway, no shade on being cute. Usability. Nope. It's all about usability.
All about usability and engagement. So the our friends at Displayer, they introduced a new data preparation agent. Automating data cleaning and structuring for faster survey analysis. We use Displayer with our analysis grid data. They have been great friends to us for a very long time. And data cleaning is a pain in the ass, right? I mean, it just is.
They say that this is like, click the button and we'll within a minute tell you everything that needs to be done to clean your data.
We'll see. I'm sure that Nelson is probably looking forward to testing this on the next round of grid. It's probably too little. I wish we'd had this a month ago. Maybe we
might be this round, but next round for sure. So Yeah, it'd be I when I was looking at it, I was thinking to myself, as somebody who has not, cleaned data to that extent at all, obviously, not living in that world per se, but thinking about how once you see the suggestions, discerning which things to say, yes, do this, don't do this, yes, do that, don't do this, like that all becomes this whole other world. Data cleaning is a very unique skill, and not everybody is capable of making the decisions that Displayer is going to tell it to make. So,
Yep.
Human AI collaboration mandatory.
100%. And that's and go back to the very beginning, right? From a data quality standpoint, all of the platform, there's different points in dealing with this, right? There's the panel company, the suppliers. Then there's the intermediaries like Rep Data and Data Quality Co-op, et cetera, that are catching what's coming through the pipes, right? To filter it even more. And then there's still this human element that is necessary. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's fraud per se. People just screw up sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and clean the data. We get it in like the Grit 50 all the time of somebody that says, oh yeah, Microsoft is a supplier. And you got to stop and think about it. Is it, are they, well, what's the context, So there's a lot of massaging that just needs to happen.
Yeah.
So that we make sure that it's makes sense contextually. And here's another example of that. So you were right. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I say you were right. We were not going to get to all of these.
No, we're not going to get to all these
stories.
I literally said in the brief, we're not going to get. Let's just be very clear. But let's start with the CB Insights release because it's a download. Everybody can download, check out. They publish an AI agent Bible. So kind of following the kind of two stories about agentic work. CB Insights has this AI agent Bible. So I haven't necessarily had a chance to look at, but if you are interested in what we're doing with agents and why that's coming next and how more and more companies are working on that.
And CB Insights is if you don't follow CB Insights, you should. I mean, they are on it with all of these things. They create fantastic, well-researched content on these topics. I do want to call out this MIT thing.
Yeah, please. This one I was like, they have a new model. And Seal. Anyway, it's all like too deep for me to have read at a glance. So you can talk about what you read. And
it's self-adapting AI. It's a new model that rewrites its own code to learn autonomously. So there's this like, oh no, should we be doing this? There's always that fear.
I mean, you want it to if you're still interacting with it. Have you ever done a prompt or something, whether it's in Perplexity or whatever, where you're like, that's not quite right. And it says, yes, let me take a look at that. And then it reworks it.
Yes.
So what's interesting to me is it's doing the thinking and then saying, wait, that's not quite right. And then redoes it again.
But this adapts its own code. So there's somebody who, somebody shared a story with me this week, that they were using, AFGO platform. I think Claude. And they're asking for a fairly simple function. And well, I can't do that. But you know what? I can do this. I can work around my own restrictions. To get you the result that you want and bypassing its restrictions. And I think that's one thing. My understanding of this is the code says, oh, there's a restriction. Screw that. I'm going to remove the restriction. I'm going to rewrite my code to accomplish the task, regardless of what was originally intended.
Autonomous learning, I think, is really interesting to think about. That it's going to learn on its own and make changes on its own. And
here, they said it's more efficient, better factual recall, et cetera, outperforms GPT 4.1. The whole point of that is do not assume that we're just making marginal improvements. We are not. That every week there is something new. It may not be fully scaled and adapted yet. But the level of fundamental innovation and rethinking that is occurring with this technology shows zero signs of slowing down, and all that we just see the incremental changes. You know, oh, there's a new version of whatever we're using, but behind the scenes, there's holy crap changes happening.
I know. And the university level is where they're happening. So
yep.
Good stuff. I say we wrap it there, Lenny. We're 40 minutes in, and
yes.
Whew, what a show.
Yeah. And let's see what happens next week.
Yeah, big stuff, lots going on. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. I need to have another great weekend. More open houses.
More open houses. All right.
Didn't get the offers the first weekend because we had the stupid storm. So the realtors want to try again. So I'm like, all right, let's try again and see what happens this weekend.
It looks like a lovely weekend.
Yes, let's hope.
Okay. All right, everybody. We're sending Karen offer vibes. So
or not.
All right.
I mean, really, it's cool if we don't. Anyway, we love our house. It's all. We'll see what happens. Anyway.
Okay. Everybody take care. Have a great weekend.
Everybody take care. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know.